Welcome back to Recreational Sniper. Today we're going to look at our positive compensation test. But first, I'm going to make sure the gun's still on, still sighted in good, still zeroed. So I'm going to shoot some of the factory Norma 143 grain golden target ammo. It's 2890, 2877, 2885, 2888, 2913. We are still zeroed. For the first test, I've got some 140 grain ELD match. These are loaded over 67.5 grains of US 869. We're going to see how they group. $27.67, $27.63, $27.20, $27.43, $27.34. So they're running a little slower. Do one more group and see how they do again. $27.26, $27.50, $27.30, $27.23, $27.64. So before we actually do the test on positive compensation, I will have to go retrieve those targets and put up new ones. So we're going to start at 63.5 grains and go all the way up to 68.5 grains. And we're going to see if we can find evidence of actual positive compensation. But for now, we're going to let the barrel cool for a few minutes. We'll go get the targets and take a look at them, and we'll start doing the actual test. Alright, so we're going to do the first 4 tests of this positive compensation. We're going to start at 63.5 grains and go up 1 grain each shot to 68.5, and we're going to see how it works on this, how it looks on this graph. So 63.5 grains. It's 2587. 64.5 grains. 2625. 65.5 grains. 2664. 66.5 grains. 2682. 67.5 grains. 2786. 68.5 grains. 2846. Test 1 is complete. I'll let the barrel cool just a little bit. Alright, so we're going to go on to the second test. Same thing, starting at 63.5 grains, going up on a new target. 2621, 64 and a half, 2634, 65 and a half, 2687, 66 and a half, 2733, 67 and a half, 2794, 68 and a half, 2834.
There you go.
It's interesting.
What are you doing?
Shooting a graph. So each shot is a different powder charge, and they're all going up 1 grain at a time. And what I'm looking for is I want to see a slower round hit higher than a faster round.
Is it?
I've got a couple spots where it may be doing it, but I'm shooting the same test. I'm shooting 5 of the same test.
Why did it shoot higher?
Because of the timing of the bullet coming out of the barrel. It's staying in the barrel longer, and so as the barrel's whipping up and down, it releases at a different angle out of the barrel. And so it releases higher than the faster bullet. That's the idea anyways.
You know, I was studying something the other day, and they were talking about that the bullet itself is affected by gravity immediately after it leaves the barrel, and that there's no such thing as a bullet climb.
Yeah, they don't.
It's your angle of your barrel.
Yeah, it's the departure angle is
right.
Yeah.
Because the bullet sinks though.
And that's basically what is happening here is the barrel, when you shoot the gun, there's a high frequency vibration that will pass from the chamber to the end of the muzzle about 7 or 8 times before the bullet exits.
I bet it's not as severe though than a custom heavy barrel.
But yeah, when you got a barrel that's 1 1/8 inches in diameter, it's gonna be real hard.
As it would be like on your rifle we were
like on that thin barrel, the 5.56, you would probably see this, it would make a real big grab. But on this thing, it's actually shooting pretty damn flat. Like every round, doesn't matter how fast it's going, it's hitting in the same spot almost. But that's why I'm shooting this graph, the same thing, shooting it 5 times. That way, I can overlap and look at each one and see if there's a trend. All right, I'm gonna move on to the third test. 63 and a half grains. 2575. 64 and a half grains. 2634. 2691. 66 and a half. 2680. 67 and a half. 2771. 68 and a half. 2839. On test number 4, we'll start at 63 and a half grains. 2610. 64 and a half grains. 2646. 65 and a half grains. 2685. 66 and a half grains. 2723. 67 and a half grains. Pulled that one off. 2752. 68 and a half grains. 2840. Okay, the last test. I'm gonna go starting again with 63 and a half grains. 2600. 64 and a half grains. 2669, 65.5, 2701, 66.5, 2730, 67.5, 2807. Last one, 68.5 grains. $28.42. Alright guys, so we're going to take a look at our results for the positive compensation test. So before we get that test started, I wanted to show you guys, this is a 10 shot group. It measured right around 0.6 inches, so about 0.6 minutes of angle at 100 yards. This was done with factory Norma 143 grain ammo. So we know that the rifle shoots really well, and actually I've seen this rifle shoot better than this on multiple occasions. I've actually done 20 shot groups that were under 0.5 inches, so it's an extremely accurate rifle to start with. These first two groups here were with the 140 grain ELD match that I loaded. This first one was 0.6 inches and this other group was 0.9. These are both 5-shot groups. So I was just trying to establish what kind of accuracy I was actually going to see. And I already noticed that if you look at the difference from the Norma to the ELD match, is they are shooting a little bit low and a little bit, looks like a little bit left, whereas the Norma was shooting a little bit high and right. So it's important to know that different bullets are gonna, shoot a little different out of your rifle, and sometimes you see results like this where the bullets group in like in a different quadrant than the other bullets you were testing, even though they're similar in weight and even similar in ballistic coefficient, everything. They will fly totally different depending on their design, So alright, that was just kind of establishing what size group and what kind of accuracy I was going to expect to see with using the 140 grain ELDs for this test. Okay, so the first chart here, I started out at 63.5 grains and shot one shot, and 64.5, 65.5, 66.5, and I go all the way up to 68.5. So one shot right after the other. And what we are looking for is some sort of sign of positive compensation, but it appears that on this first chart we didn't see any of that. They are all trending upwards with powder charge, which means the velocities can, it's obviously consistently picking up, and the bullets are flying a little bit higher. You can see this obvious trend to as far as upwards, as far as the velocity goes. So with this first one, there's no obvious signs of positive compensation. So I wanted to make sure and be thorough with this testing, so I did this exact same test 5 times. So I've got 4 other charts. This is the second test. Okay, so we start out and we're kind of low, and then we trend up, and we hit our high point here at 66.5 grains, and then it trends back down for the next 2 shots. Keep in mind these are exactly the same loaded as the ones on this first chart, but I thought that was interesting. It's a little bit of a different result. This is positive, this is in between these two zones, between 68.5 and 66.5 grains. Right there is potentially what you would call a positive compensation zone. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this aside. We're gonna look at chart 3. This one kind of was a little different. It's kind of hard to tell. Maybe in here somewhere it might be showing positive compensation, but it's doesn't line up anywhere. It doesn't really line up with chart 1. It doesn't really line up with chart 2. But I want to just show you guys what happened with it. Okay. On chart 4, this one shot a little bit different. But if we were to go back and see our group size, we'll know that our vertical spread was about a ½ inch, So, and even in this one a little bit bigger. So it can be expected that those bullets, any one of these rounds is going to deviate, up or down by about a ½ an inch. So again, we did see this round hit low over here at 68.5 and hit higher here at a lower powder charge, which is what we're looking for. I did pull this shot, and I know that for a fact. If you watched the previous clips all the way through, you'll hear me when I say, "Oh man, I pulled that." Just as soon as I pulled the trigger on it, I knew that I pulled that shot off to the right. So this could be a sign of positive compensation. Not really sure. And then we got target number 5, which almost looks like target number 2. Yeah, so if we go back to target number 2 and we line these up, chart number 2, it almost looks exactly like chart number 5. So, are we seeing real positive compensation here? We got 2 charts that look almost identical. The other 3 charts are they're probably showing, the noise in the group size. But potentially, right in here would be your positive compensation zone. And as I said before, what that means is your lower, slower velocity bullet is hitting higher at close range than your faster bullets are, which happened twice on the second target and the 5th target that I tested. So again, that's only 2 out of the 5 that are actually showing this trend. It may be some more testing that I'll want to do in the future, potentially with different components, and see if I can get the same results. But I just thought that this was really cool, that potentially this would actually show positive compensation. Now, one of the other variables is this rifle has 1 1/8 inch, a 1.125 inch straight barrel. So it's a very thick barrel, and it's in 6.5 PRC, so it's a small bore diameter, so there is a lot of steel in that barrel, and we're probably not going to see as much positive compensation out of it as you would with maybe a thinner barrel, because the barrel is so stiff and and large in diameter that it's not going to flex nearly as much as a smaller diameter, lighter weight barrel would, when you fire it. So I don't know. You guys be the judge. Am I seeing actual positive compensation here, or is this just a coincidence or kind of a fluke that these 2 charts are almost identical in wavelength here with each round, So we'll just go back and look at the others. Again, here's chart 1, chart 2. Okay. And chart 3. And then chart 4. Which I'm wondering if that could be another sign of positive compensation there. But again, it's kind of can't use that one because I know I pulled that shot off. And then chart 5. Another interesting thing that occurred has to do with the velocity variation that I got. So take a look at this, these are the velocities that I recorded for each group at each powder charge. So from, you know, test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4, and test 5. So, and then like you can see each one of these, they start at 63.5 and they go up to 68.5. So there are 5 shots at each powder charge, but they're in 5 different test groups. So like from this shot here to this shot over here, they're both, 68.5 grains, but this shot was 24 shots later in the testing that I made this one. So they're all spread out, but some interesting things that happen. At 63.5 grains, we got an average velocity of 2598.6 and an extreme spread of 46. At 64.5 grains, we got an average velocity of 2641.6, extreme spread of 44. At 65.5 grains was 2685.6, extreme spread of 37. At 66.5 grains, we got 2711.2, extreme spread of 58. And at 67.5 grains, we got 2782, and extreme spread of 55. Now, at our maximum charge, we got 2840.2 average and an extreme spread of only 12 feet per second. So that was really interesting, but it also kind of makes sense because at 28.5 grains, that load was actually compressed. It was obviously a maximum charge. I don't think you could really get much more of that powder in there. Velocity is not particularly great, but the extreme spread and velocity is really great at only 12 feet per second. And again, it was not like I shot those 5 rounds all in a row. I shot all of these rounds and shot one, all of these rounds and shot one, all of these rounds and shot one, all of those rounds and shot one, all of those rounds and shot one. So by the time I got here, there was over 30 rounds through the barrel, and plus the 10 rounds here on this target, plus the 10 rounds here on this target. So what does that tell you? Me personally, I don't know, but it looks like 68.5 grains would be the load I would want to go with, particularly in this rifle. I like that extreme spread, and I am curious to see what would happen if I loaded up 10 rounds at that charge level and then went and shot them for a group and see how they do. Other than that, some other things, as far as my brass preparation for this test, I did not anneal the brass. It was once fired brass. I did not turn the necks on the brass. I did not uniform the primer pockets or flash holes. The only thing I did was I full length resized them, and then I trimmed them and then reloaded them pretty much. Of course, I cleaned them first, but anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time in the next video. Maybe we'll do some more positive compensation tests in the future. Thank you.